Welcome this afternoon in the house of Grundtvig. I don't know if you know who Grundtvig was. I will give you a little introduction, but first I will introduce myself. I am Lars Klüver. I'm the director of the Danish Board of Technology, which is the technology assessment institution of Denmark, and also I'm the coordinator of the DESSI project. And I will lead you through the first part of the program. The second part will be, you will be led by Jakob, sitting here, standing up, sitting down again. and Jakob has been the project manager on this project, leading us through the whole thing, and I will tell you a little about what the whole thing was. But first I promised you a little about this house, say a little about this house. If you look at the username Nikolai here, and the password for the Wi-Fi, let's go to introduction. Then you can see it's Nikolai Severin. Nikolai Severin are the first two names. If there had been a second password, it would have been Frederik. Because Nikolai Severin Frederik Grundtvig was a clerk, a Danish churchman, who was kicked out of the Danish church because he wrote a psalm that said that light is in the mouth. And of course that couldn't be accepted because light is not in the mouth, it's in the air with God. So he was kicked out of the Danish church. He developed a free church, and at the same time around this free church he developed a system for self-education among the just freed farmers in Denmark. And that was the start of a self-education system in Denmark, and also start of the democratic thinking in Denmark. At the same time of Grundtvig, there were two other philosophers who developed not from a religious point of view, moral point of view, as Grundtvig did, but from a more, you could say, policy, governance point of view, developed thoughts about how the Danish democracy should work. And that ended up with the Danish democracy as we know it, based on education, free education, where enlightenment and education is seen as the basis for a democracy. For an open democracy that's based on debate, on open debate and open engagement. So we're actually in the house of the father of the Danish democratic thinking. I think that's something for a DESSI conference, isn't it? Because the DESSI conference is also a little about democracy and open debate and taking very difficult decisions. It has to do with governance, with freedom, with privacy, and discuss that in an open space so that we come up with a solution that serves society the best. Basically, very much in Nikolai Severin's spirit. And because we're in the house of such a clerkman, I will stand up here and make the rest of my I think that's how it should be in this house. First of all, I would like to present the consortium because they're sitting around the doesn't shift. I'll have to stand down for a moment. Okay. Yeah. There's a need for a USB stick. Aha. Okay. First of all, the consortium. Could the consortium partners, those in the core consortium, could you just stand up? We have the Danish Board of Technology who have been leading it. Then we have the VSFB. Okay, is that okay? And I will not say it in German. Which is a criminological institute. We have ITA from Austria, which is the Austrian Technology Assessment Institute. We have the Peace Research Institute in Oslo, where the name says what it is. Then we have the Norwegian Board of Technology, which is the Norwegian Technology Assessment Institute. Please sit down. I already showed you where's Katrin. If there's anything practical you need during conference, Katrin is sitting there and ready to solve any problem. A little intro to this. Why was it that DESSI, we began to work with the DESSI system? Well, it's an FP7, Framework Program 7, project of the European Commission. And there was a call there under the security program back in 2009, in which you could read between the lines that they wanted a project that could solve the situation that decisions on security investments were made much too simplified, with too much political involvement at a too early phase. Very often starting with one technology as the solution, and very often with a debate where all different perspectives came in very scattered. Some stronger than others, and nearly no one talking about security game. So this call asked for solutions which could ensure that we would have the alternatives looked at, not only the one solution that comes up when we want to invest. Also that multiple perspectives were considered, and that it was done in a way so that it could, you could say, could be accepted by the political system. And we made an application for that, in which we basically suggested a multi-criteria assessment system where the alternatives and the assessment of the criteria were made in participatory processes. Why did we do that? Because we basically, as some of us with technology assessment institutions, have worked with technology and society for many, many years. And when you've done that, you basically have the approach that all the normative questions involved in such a system cannot be dealt with by experts. So there's no way of giving all these dimensions and criteria to a consultancy firm, and then two consultants sit down at a table and write a report about how these different alternatives will work, and they publish it, and then society will accept the results. That will not work. The reason is that there are so many normative, so many political judgments that have to be made in such an examination. So that's why we made a participatory process where actors, interest parties could come, and citizens, for the sake, owners of the systems, technicians, could come in a common process and evaluate all these criteria that are relevant in the same process. And later in the program, Walter Preisel, where are you, Walter? There, will tell you about exactly what it is we have developed. I think it has not been an easy way to get here. The first problem we ran into was, what do we expect to be able to evaluate, to assess? We had very deep discussions about if, of course, this started with terror and with security investments, which was anti-terror investments. That's the reason the EU made the call. But basically, we had very strong discussions in the consortium about if such a system could cover security problems in general. For example, could it also cover environmental or disaster solutions? And what we decided was that we would develop a system with the main focus on anti-terror and criminal acts, you could say a threat, an active threat. But we would have all the other possible applications in mind. And whenever we would come up with a dilemma between other applications, environment, disasters, and terror threats, whenever we would come up with a dilemma, the threats would win. Then we would aim it at threats. But actually, we've never come up with such a situation, which is quite interesting. So the issues we have tested this system on are all connected to something which are more, you could say, more active threats. But I think we now agree in the consortium that this might work for very many kinds of threats in our society, and security programs. The DESSI procedure is making alternatives in the beginning. So if you come up with a technology, then the procedure will demand that other solutions are made so that we have something to compare your solution up against. And maybe if one of the others will win in the end. Then we have dimensions and criteria, and I promise you it was not easy to make those criteria. You will work with them later in the day. We have a number of dimensions and we have a number of criteria beneath each of them. The job was to simplify very, very difficult things down to a level where it was not oversimplified. So basically we have tried to make criteria which can be dealt with in a one-day workshop by, let's say, the number of people we are here or less, which go into different kinds of group work. And out of that comes an assessment of each of the criteria. And you can imagine that we cannot use a whole day on privacy alone, for example. Although, I mean, conference of 6 days are made about privacy. So, I mean, we had to simplify a lot. And I think, I hope, but I also think actually that we have hit some ways to state these criteria in a way that hits the name. But we are open to getting any reflections on that later in the day when you begin to work with them. I think one thing we have made also, I don't know how much Valder will say about that, is a scalable system. Basically, it's possible for you to sit down with the DESSI criteria, dimensions and criteria over a cup of coffee, take some kind of problem and say, how does it work with regards to all these criteria? Maybe you can do it in a couple of hours alone. That's your own little assessment. You can do that. And you can also go through a huge evaluation where you dive deep into each criteria, maybe over 2 months. Very intensive, very big project. I think the DESSI procedure is very, very scalable. And I think that's a good quality. But also, we would like to hear from you if you what your thoughts about that are when we have finished the day. I will not say much more. I will show you what the program is, but what you have in front of you. So no reason to use much time on that. First thing I will use a little time on is that we will start with 2 keynotes, 2 presentations about important matters in this respect. Birgitte Kovac-Olsen has also been a member of the advisory panel for the project. Will introduce us to the European security situation and discussion, the context for the whole thing. Maria Gabrielsen-Jombert will present to us the rescue at sea case, all the context around that. And then Valder will present our system. So that's kind of the introduction. Then we have 3 presentations made by the consortium partners, which are basically presentations of the cases we have run. One is about the Austrian courthouses, and one is about personal safety of Danish bus drivers, and the third is about drones for search and rescue in Norway. And these are the cases we have used to test our system along the way. And after lunch, Jakob will take over and will make a new presentation of the program. But basically what you see up here is that we will make a workshop where you try the DESSI procedure on the issue at drones for search and rescue. So, but I won't go deep into that. You'll anyway forget what I've said very fast. So we will wait to make that introduction until Jakob stands. I think that's it.